Another year, another Game Awards has concluded. Regardless if you voted or not, regardless what your predictions were, this Game Awards yet again has taken the spotlight and has started discussions among video game fans and communities. Before we move on, I'd like to say thank you again for all your support last year on YouTube and on Twitch. I hope all of you have had a good year, a good holiday season, and a nice New Year celebration, no matter how big or small. Last year was a very interesting year for games. We've had many notable titles such as Monster Hunter Wilds, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Metal Gear Solid Delta, a number of titles from big companies launched with great sales, but also highlighted some of the problems of modern gaming, such as performance issues, online verification, always online just to play the game, to name a few. This year also has unfortunately been a disastrous year, in particular for people working in the industry, as the string of layoffs that have already made the headlines last year continued on to this year. And on top of that, many video games in development being cancelled as well. If there is one part of video games that took the spotlight this year, and many touted as what saved games in 2025, it's indie games. And just to name a few, there's Peak, Silksong, Hades 2, Dispatch, and of course, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Today's video, however, will be about one specific category in the Game Awards. That category is none other than Player's Voice. Compared to other categories where our votes count for about 10% of the player votes, Player Voice is 100% weighted in votes by people like us. Now on the surface, this looks like the one award that people will take a bit more seriously because 1. Whether we trust or distrust the panel that votes for other categories, this category is the result of the player base. Number 2, everyone is invested and interested in several titles because maybe they have a bias, maybe they like the genre, maybe they are loyal and they love the company behind it, etc. So this is the one category where they can really express that. Number 3, the choice pool for this category is large until it gets whittled down to the final 5. So there are better chances that a community or player basis game will win at least one award in the Game Awards. Now that having been said, there is one problem or flaw in Player's Voice, and that is simply put, having a gacha or live service game in the category. This opinion I have is based around the concept of conflict of interest. It is when one's personal interest is at conflict or stake with a decision or judgment being made in a specific circumstance. Now, the purpose of the Player's Voice, according to the Game Awards on their website, the category description is, well, Player's Voice is a 100% fan-voted award. Though lacking in words in my opinion, I think this category is essentially what players believe is Game of the Year material for them, regardless if they got nominated for an award, let alone Game of the Year. It starts with a large pool of games which gets reduced every stage or voting period until you have 5 nominees to choose from. You have games here like Dispatch who got nominated for one category, Best Indie Debut Game, and you have Expedition 33 that got nominated for a whopping record-breaking 12 categories. Silksong is here as well, being nominated for Game of the Year and several categories as well. And we have 2 live service gacha games, Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, both of which are free to play. I personally wanted Dispatch to win this category because I knew in my heart that Expedition 33 was going to sweep many categories, and they did. 9 total, including Game of the Year, and I think they deserve to. I played Dispatch and I genuinely loved the game and praised it for several aspects, and I wanted it to win at least one award. Winning Best Indie Debut Game I knew would be near impossible because guess what? Expedition 33 is in that category as well. Now the thing is, I used to play Genshin Impact, I loved it, but I quit about 2 or 3 years ago. Wuthering Waves I still play now, and I absolutely love it. And despite that, I still wanted Dispatch to win. I have little to say about Silksong because I haven't played enough of it to have a good opinion or argument that would carry weight, but I also think Silksong deserved to win this award and several other awards as well with what little playtime I have had. Now, my conflict of interest here is the whole nature of Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves as a game in a category where its player base has 100% influence and weight. Now, gacha games in particular but also live service games tend to, and historically, they have rewarded their players for winning awards like this. When Uma Musume got nominated, Cygames gave its players 10 pulls worth of carats, that's 1500 to be exact, which is the in-game's currency that can be earned by spending real money or playing the game. Now, when they won the award for Best Mobile Game, every game under Cygames got a free guaranteed 5-star SSR pull. Essentially, this is the best result you can get in any gacha game where you pull for stuff. Now, be it Shadowverse, Grand Blue Fantasy, and of course, Uma Musume, you got something for free that was worth guaranteed pity for the game, which in Uma Musume is 200 pulls worth, so about 30,000 carats. That is a lot of currency. In Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact terms, Uma Musume gave us a guaranteed pity in one pull, instead of people having to do a 50-50 at 80 or 90 pulls, or pull 160, 180 times when RNG is at its worst if they were going for a specific reward from the gacha. Expedition 33, Dispatch, and Silk Song all have a price tag attached to them. Now, at their price tag, the game is expected to be complete. Anything afterwards is expected as a bonus, like a free DLC, content, especially since they aren't live service games. I know Expedition 33 got that, which I'm happy for, and I'd like to believe players would have gotten that regardless if they won Game of the Year or all of those awards. Like, I think it would have been a nice end of the year thank you message for the support that the players have been giving for the game. And updating the game constantly with consistent quality content is the norm and expectations with service games, not games like Expedition 33, Dispatch, and Silksong. And gacha games are no exception, since the game is never truly complete. Kind of like an MMO. You expect it to keep going and adding on top of what you're already experiencing. This has been the case for World of Warcraft, FF14, RuneScape, Guild Wars 2. And these three games, Expedition 33, Dispatch, and Silksong, they don't lose or even gain anything by rewarding or not rewarding its players for winning awards. To give an example, like, an actor would love to win a Grammy or an Oscar, and the fans would love that person to win a big award. But with or without the award, I honestly think what makes them a great actor remains. And I honestly believe the same for games. In a category, however, where my vote actually can really influence the result, it puts me in a conundrum. I want Dispatch to win for many reasons, and I won't be directly rewarded if they do win. Because it's not like them winning is going to speed up the production for Season 2. I don't think we're gonna get a secret episode or epilogue. I don't think we're gonna get an epilogue episode after they already released all of the episodes for Dispatch. However, as a Wuthering Waves player, I know that if WUA wins, I get free currency or rolls, which, if you are a free-to-play player, that is like pure gold. And even if Wuthering Waves does deserve it, and I think they do, that reward for doing so gives it a serious advantage over Expedition 33, Silksong, and Dispatch. It's like, to give another example, imagine you're picking a character in a fighting game, and people will say you picked a character for being top tier, when in reality, you picked a character that happened to be top tier, and your reasons were not because of what tier they were. Maybe the character you like is hot, maybe you like their design, voice acting, personality, fighting style, but you also cannot ignore the fact that they are whatever tier they are, and even if you agree or disagree, or are uninterested with tier lists, whatever the fighting game community says is like, yeah, this is what tier they are, that is the metric or benchmark that they will be judging your character choice on. And in this case, I can make a list as to why WUA deserves to win, such as its visuals, storytelling, music, voice acting, And people could agree or disagree with me, but the one thing I have to reconcile myself with the fact is that I am being rewarded directly by Wuthering Waves if they do win. More so if Expedition 33, Dispatch, or Silksong wins. I do not expect anything from any of the three titles to give back to its player base after winning this award other than a thank you and making like a good sequel or a good patch, performance patch, quality of life, but it already is expected for games like this with or without the award. But for Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact, the currency that they give out, they usually don't do that unless there is a very good reason. Now, the difference between these Gacha live service games and the other three games that I mentioned is that if Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, quote unquote, withhold these rewards, right? Asterites, Primo Gems for not winning, people may not like it, but they'll generally understand why. Like, they didn't win, of course. Like, they wanted players to vote for their game. They didn't win, so they get nothing. All right. Now, it's standard practice that the game will reward its players when it itself gets rewarded. A game like Silksong, Dispatch, Expedition 33, they cannot exactly withhold updates for their games because we paid for these games. They are a single-player game, so the price tag, whatever it is, we paid for a complete experience. So if what they will add is substantial addition, like, we better not be paying an exorbitant amount, or it should be at least for free. And it's literally withholding content that we already paid for. Now, regardless if you spend those currency or not in Genshin and WoWA, its player base will still get content updates because the livelihood and reputation of these games depend on that. Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, HSR, Uma Musume, every gacha game will still do its best to keep going. It will still add story, new characters, new reasons for people to spend money and time, the popularity, the reputation, the glitz, I guess, of winning an award at the Game Awards is a bonus, really. It does put them on the map. It does make the community talk about this more, maybe even argue amongst each other, and it does boost the image and reputation of the game. And for games that are free to play, that is exactly what you want. You need an upper hand in trying to convince people to play your game compared to your other competition. Like, I'm not saying this is what WoWA players think or what Genshin players think, but if a Wuthering Waves player were like, I think Wuthering Waves is better than Genshin Impact because Wuthering Waves won Player's Voice Awards this year in the Game Awards. It's not by any means a definitive reason why Wuthering Waves would be better or worse than Genshin Impact if Genshin Impact won, but it is an argument that people will use. And that is still a fact that, yeah, they won an award. They are right about that. So there has to be something better about Wuthering Waves than Genshin Impact, or Genshin Impact than Wuthering Waves if Genshin Impact won. And this is what I mean by conflict of interest. What you think deserves to win versus what you get out of your vote, right? Even when you remove as much bias as possible, there is categorically more reward, quite literally, for Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact if you play either of them. Since these player bases are staggeringly large, it's definitely tough for even a game like Dispatch, Silksong, and even Expedition 33 to beat these games. In the future, I do hope that they make a separate category for live service games and gacha games in particular. Best ongoing game may encompass that, but as much as many gacha games do deserve to be in Player's Voice, the influence they have on the other choices gives them an arguably unfair advantage. And that's it for the video. Let me know in the comments which games you wished won Player's Voice, or if it doesn't matter to you at all, like your general thoughts on the whole Player's Voice in the Game Awards. And, you know, whatever thoughts, opinions you have, that is totally fine. And here's to hoping 2026 will be nicer to the video game industry, especially its developers, and exciting for players like us and, you know, video game enthusiasts. Have a good day, Foxtrots.